Namaste. This is Dr. Aparna. I am an Ayurvedic psychotherapist. I am your emotional healing synergist. I am a passionate Ayurveda and psychotherapy infopreneur, medical writer, and now a budding YouTuber. In my pursuit to address, promote, and propagate Ayurveda and psychotherapy globally, I come up with talk throughs or discussions on various topics related to Ayurveda, mental health, psychotherapy, and mental health arena book reviews. So, today's topic of discussion is very interesting because I've been getting requests to talk about this topic since a long time. So I thought it is today is a great time to discuss BPD, that is borderline personality disorder. So what is BPD? What are the signs and symptoms of BPD? What are the causes of BPD? What is the incidence of BPD? Let us get into everything of it. And what is the, what are the types and management? It might take 2 to 3 sessions to complete the entire topic of borderline personality disorder, because it is a vast topic and a complicated a intricated mental health disorder. So let's get to know BPD in detail. So what is BPD? So as you can say, it is a personality disorder. So here, borderline personality disorder means it is a mental health disorder. So what happens here is BPD is impacts the way the person thinks and feels about himself or herself and others, you know, causing problems in functioning in everyday life. As I said, it is any disorder for that matter is called a disorder because it interrupts your daily routine. So it causes problems in everyday functions, in everyday management, in everyday relationship. So borderline personality disorder is also causes problems in functioning, problems of functioning in everyday life. So here it is a bit different here. So, what does this include here is self image issues. It majorly includes self image issues. So, self identity issues as well. So, and difficulty managing emotions and behavior. Most of the times, there is lack of empathy. So, due to this, these people with BPD have, you know, they have a pattern of unstable relationships. So, to simplify it, I will explain it with examples, but to simplify the definition. So, it can also be, said as this is a mental illness. What happens here is it affects, it severely impacts a person's ability to manage his or her emotions. So, what happens is this loss of emotional control can increase impulsivity. So, they can become impulsively angry. They can be very impulsive at times. They'll be, like very, their relationships will be one time they will treat you very nicely, and the other moment they can get impulsive. So because there is a loss of emotional control here, so there is impulsive mood swings. We'll see what are the signs and symptoms as well. So What happens is this loss of emotional control can increase impulsivity. So what happens here is it affects how a person feels about, his own self or her own self, and it negatively impacts their relationship with others. Overall, what happens is in borderline personality disorder, a person is not able to manage or control his or her own emotions. So what happens, this results in impulsive behaviors at times, extreme mood swings or impulsive behaviors. So what happens, and what ultimately what happens is this negatively impacts their relationship. It could be personal relationship or professional relationship. So this is a complex mental health condition. So here you can see intense emotions. A person, how we diagnose is a person comes with intense emotions, unstable relationships, and impulsive behaviors. So, people with BPD often experience significant distress in their day to day lives, and they struggle to maintain a healthy interpersonal connections. So, when does this usually begin? So, borderline personality disorder usually begins in the early adulthood. You can experience the symptoms in the early adulthood. See, a main funda or a principle in the mental health conditions is, as soon as you recognize the symptoms and as soon as you approach an expert, you get a intervention that, as quickly as you can, get rid of it. So here, borderline personality disorder also is like that. As soon as you get the intervention by an expert, as soon as you start the therapy, you get better. So here, this condition seems to be worse in young adulthood and may gradually get better with age sometimes. So how this person is this person is usually a circumstantial person. That means he is a person who requires constant external validation. So what happens is this person, the people who have borderline disorder have, a loss of the first symptoms itself is fear of abandonment. So they always feel, they have a pattern of fear of being, rejected or left alone. So what do they do is, the person here is, if a person here, uh, for a for a normal person, if for example, if he or she gets rejected in an interview or is hired, is fired from a job, what we do, it does not, we know who we are, and it does not impact on our, majorly impact on our self image, because I know I can crack another job. So I know I am worthy of it. But here the people are always, in BPD, this affects them intensely. They feel that, they are not worthy of anything because they lost a job or because they couldn't crack an interview. They have self image issues, so identity issues. Mainly, we know a difference between a normal person and a BPD person is, here a normal person is a substantial purpose person, and normally people are substantial, and here people are circumstantial. That means if he had he got the job, then he would have been, he would have, his self image is okay. He will be like, okay, I'm all right. So the moment he doesn't get the job, he'll be like, okay, I'm worthy of nothing. So here in the substantial person, normally in people with you know normally people do not have that like they do not define their image with their success or failure, but here it is like that in borderline personality disorder. So, and this is the borderline personality disorder is not permanent. It is very much treatable, it is very much manageable. And this is just we cannot the person cannot be labeled for a lifelong. This is as early as the intervention is, it can be treated. So this is very much treatable. So don't think that this is permanent. So here what happens is, the person uh, reasoning whatever is given is neuroscientific, or the people who have neuroscientific or biological, or they have genetic vulnerability plus invalidating environment. That means they might have this could be due to genetic factors, or the some genetic abnormality in the brain. Maybe the amygdala, the emotional region is small, or structural anomalies. But and these people are genetically very sensitive to negative emotions. So what happens is, normally people are not that sensitive to negative emotions, but here people are very much sensitive to or vulnerable to negative emotions. And plus, if they are getting invalidating environment, that means if a parent also says that you are worthy of nothing, or a teacher is scolding, or they are not getting the validating environment, they are getting a invalidating environment. So this worsens borderline personality disorder. So their brain is already sensitive to negative emotions, plus the invalidating environmental factors play a role and contribute in borderline personality disorder. So what happens here exactly, the we'll know about the symptoms in brief here first. So they have pervasive instability in the mood, they have total mood swings, and um, they and instability in their behavior, and they have self image issues, as I said, and they have problems with their interpersonal relationships. So these people experience intense emotions, they always have a fear of abandonment. So they always feel they are gonna be rejected or left alone. So what they do sometimes, most of the times, they become attention seeking, and they become impulsive. And as I said, the main thing is unstable self image and worsened relationships. So DSM-5 also, DSM-5 is a diagnostic and statistical manual for mental health disorders. So for mental disorders, what we follow is DSM-5. So what happens here is, this is a criteria for diagnosing BPD. That gives us criteria for diagnosing various mental health disorders. So what happens here is, this gives a criteria to us. How we diagnose this is, in we have to see for patterns of unstable relationships, identity disturbance, impulsivity, recurrent self harm or self injury, or sometimes leading to suicidal behavior. So here in the borderline personality disorder, actually the self harm or the self injury is done to gain attention. You know what, if you leave me, I'll harm myself. So to gain attention, these people usually attempt self harm or self injury here. So they always feel they have chronic feelings of emptiness. clients come to us feeling, I always feel that I'm completely empty, and they have intense anger, or they cannot control anger. And after that, what happens? After they have impulsive actions, they also regret that actions. This also happens. And if we come to incidence, and what is the incidence, how much is the incidence of borderline personality disorder is, it is higher in comparatively a bit higher in females compared to males. So in females, borderline personality disorder is mostly diagnosed, and diagnosed more in females than in males. So, however, BPD can significantly impact various aspects of a person's life. So, what it can lead to difficulties in maintaining stable relationships, holding a job, and managing emotions. So, usually, treatment often involves psychotherapy here. The major therapy we follow is DBT, that is dialectal behavior therapy, and CBT, that is cognitive behavioral therapy. So, and we use medications to address specific, symptoms are addressed to some of the medications, and I'm skipping those medication part here, because I do not, if people who know me know that my approach is 95% not pharmacological approach, and whenever it is absolutely essential, only 5% of it is ayurvedic medications. So let's come to clinical definition. So what does it the clinical definition of it? So this is cluster of personality disorder. So this borderline personality disorder is a group of conditions. It is not only one conditions, it may be group of various symptoms, but one point to remember is all individuals BPD might not experience all the symptoms. So the symptoms here may vary from individual to individual. So do not think that every person will have all the signs and symptoms. Some may have some symptoms, some may have other symptoms. So there are types as well, we'll discuss in the next session. But types of BPD we'll discuss in the next session. But here this is cluster of disorders here. So this also in BPD there is dramatic and erratic behavior. So this is a long term dysfunctional behavior as per the clinical definition. So what happens is people with borderline personality disorder, as I said, can experience intense mood swings and feel uncertainty about how they see themselves. Their feelings for others can change very quickly. One moment they'll be very friendly, and the other moment they'll be very impulsive. So the feelings can change very quickly. That's why they have tumultuous relationships. That means difficult, unstable relationships, and they swing from extreme closeness. They can like you, they can extremely become close to you at one moment, and they can extremely dislike you in another moment. So these changing feelings can lead to unstable relationships and emotional pain. So what happens is people with BPD tend to view things in extremes. उनको सब एक्सट्रीम्स में ही दिखता है, such as all good or all bad. So they can see everything good about you in a moment, and they can see everything bad about you in the next moment. So their interests and values can change quickly, and they may act impulsively or recklessly. So the symptoms here include fear of abandonment. So what happens is there is a pattern of pervasive pattern of fear of being rejected or left alone. They always fear of abandonment. When people come to us, the first complaint is we fear that we are fear of they always have a fear of being rejected or left alone. And as I said, unstable relationships. So intense relationships with frequent idealization and devaluation of others. One moment, for once, they will think that you are their god and you are their everything. The next moment, you are devalued, you are nothing to them. So that happens in unstable, they have unstable relationships. So they have unclear and shifting self image. So as I said, a shaky sense of identity. That means if they get validation from if they get external validation, they feel that they have a greater self image. If they do not, it is always circumstantial. If they if they do not get external validation, if they are externally invalidated, then it leads to drastic changes in their anger, in their behavior. So, and impulsivity here means they engage in risky or harmful behaviors. And they do not think of consequences, such as they can go into drugs, substance abuse, they can recklessly start driving, or they can also involve themselves in unsafe sexual activity or gambling. So these are very impulsive or risky behaviors, and they do not think of the consequences. And they always hear there are suicidal threats of behavior. So they give recurrent threats, or they attempt to self harm, or sometimes it could rage to suicide. But they often, what they do is give threats or attempt self harm in order to gain attention sometimes. So there is emotional dysregulation. So, emotional dysregulation is in intense and rapidly shifting moods, such as they get very angry very soon, anxiety and depressed. They get anxious very soon and they get depressed very soon. So, these can last for hours. So, and dissociation is they always feel disconnected, or they may feel empty, feeling disconnected from oneself or one's surroundings. Sometimes they also we say that they go on an autopilot mode, because they feel and get disconnected from themselves and their surroundings. So they have a sense of chronic emptiness, a feeling of lack of meaning or purpose in life. They always feel empty. I always feel empty. Their complaint is, I always feel a lack of meaning or lack of purpose in life. So BPD usually affects approximately 1 to 2% of the general population. So here we have it is very important to remember that BPD is a spectrum disorder, that is collection of symptoms, a collection of disorder. It is very complicate and intricate. So meaning the severity of symptoms can vary greatly from person to person. As I said, it is different from individual to individual. So while BPD can be challenging, it has as I said, we have various treatment approaches. Mainly it is psychotherapy, mainly it is DBT, dialectal behavioral therapy, and CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So we'll know what are the in emotional, what comes under signs and symptoms. So emotional instability, as we said, they are not able to manage their emotions. So what happens in emotional instability is they have intense mood swings. So individuals with borderline personality disorder often experience rapid and intense mood changes from euphoria to deep sadness. That means they are excited in a moment and they are depressed in other moment. That happens within a short span. Within a short span, they change from euphoria to sadness, that is from anxiety to sadness. So chronic feelings of emptiness, as I said, they frequently report an underlying sense of emptiness. मुझे सब खाली खाली सा लगता है, feeling hollow or incomplete, even during seemingly positive moments. Even they have something happy going on in their life, something good going on in their life, even then they feel they have feelings of emptiness. So unstable relationships may what happens, they have fear of abandonment. That means those with PPD, they exhibit an extreme fear of being abandoned or rejected, leading to frantic efforts to avoid it. That means they have unstable relationships. Their relationships can oscillate between idealization and devaluation. That means once they will if they like you, they like you extremely, like you, and once if they dislike you, that is also extreme. They do not, they can idealize you or they can devalue you. That happens in a very short span of life, and that gets repeated. So they might idealize someone initially only to quickly perceive them as wholly negative. They can consider you as a positive ideal, and in a short span of time they can consider you a negative person. Next is the most important thing, which is impulsivity and risky behaviors. So impulsive actions, so individuals may engage in impulsive behaviors like reckless driving, substance abuse, overspending, binge eating, or unsafe sex and gambling. So they do not consider consequences. They can either start reckless driving, speed driving. They can involve themselves into a substance abuse, drug abuse. They can be a shopping spree. They start overspending. What happens is when they have chronic sense of emptiness, to fill the emptiness, they do all these things. They overspend, and they can get into loans and financial troubles. So they also start binge eating to fill the emptiness, and they can have unsafe sex and or start gambling, you know without considering the consequences. So sometimes what happens is they have self-harming behaviors when they feel constant anxiety, or constantly when they cannot tolerate their emotions. What they do is they in they involve or indulge himself in harming behaviors such as cutting or burning oneself. So they can cut their hand or burn, and burn means burn a part of their hands, or all these self-harming behaviors. If we ask them why do you do that, they say that it relieves the physical pain, relieves them from the mental agony. So they involve themselves in such self-harming behaviors, and they say that is a way to cope with intense emotions. And as I said, distorted self-image and identity. So people with BPD they have a unstable self-image, and they always struggle with their identity. They struggle with their values, they struggle with their goals, and they struggle with their career choices. All of these, not only identity, their values, their goals, their career choices. And dissociation, some might experience periods of dissociations. That means they feel disconnected from the reality, or feel disconnected from the surroundings, or feel disconnected from their own identity. They are like, who am I? They always have this dissociation. And then when we talk of intense and unstable emotions, so they have difficulty in regulating emotions. They may find it challenging to manage and regulate their emotions. that leads to outbursts, that leads to anger and frequent emotional crisis. They are experiencing frequent emotional crisis, which may be a tiny thing for a normal person, that will be a major thing for a person having living with BPD. So paranoia or dissociation. So what is paranoia? Is delusioning with this irrational fear, you know irrational anxiety which is not justifiable. So in extreme cases, so individuals might experience psychotic symptoms. These are extreme, only in extreme cases this neurotic becomes psychotic. So suicidal behavior, as I said, they will have thoughts of self harm, suicide, or engaging in potentially dangerous activities. This also could be because they want attention from their loved ones, or they believe they love them. So, and suicidal attempts is rare, but it also happens. So some individuals with BPD might engage in suicidal behaviors or attempts, especially during their times of emotional distress. So, and there is a special symptom called as transient stress related paranoia. So what happens is, in transient stress induced paranoia, that is during stressful situations. Some suppose if they are put in stressful situations, either in the professional sphere or in the personal sphere, what happens is they might develop paranoid thoughts or feelings of unreality. Paranoia is something delusional, something which is unreal, something which is unjustifiable, irrational. That means irrational fear that this person would harm me, this person would injure me, this person would kill me. Something which is very much unrealistic. So, this brings an end to today's session. So, we have discussed what is BPD and what is the incidence of BPD, and in brief, we have discussed the cause and signs and symptoms. In the next session, we'll discuss some examples, what all might happen, different case studies we'll discuss, and the types of BPD and the treatment, the therapy for BPD. So let me know your thoughts and concerns in the comment section. And thank you for staying tuned. Namaste for today.